Black Sesame. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me today. And my next guest today is the lovely Morgan.
Hello.
Happy Sunday. Thank you for coming on the show. I know you're hot. It's hot in here. I know we got a fan. But it's okay. But it's okay. I don't know how to work the AC, but it's okay. All right. And thank you again for joining me today. And like I mentioned to you off camera, the whole point of the interview and the conversation is just to really get your experience living here as a Black woman in Taiwan.
Right.
And usually when I start, I always ask people, how long have you been living in Taiwan?
Almost 4 years. So I'm in my 4th contract in Taiwan.
Okay.
So it's not 4 years. August of next year will be 4 years.
4
exactly.
years.
Yes.
Okay.
Almost.
And why did you decide to move to Taiwan?
I'll be very delicate. Before I lived in China.
Okay.
And it was an awful, when I say awful, like it's not an exaggeration experience. And I was like, but I still wanted to learn Mandarin or continue learning Mandarin. So I was like, where else could I go in the world that I could get a better work experience, like work and living experience, but also do what I want to do and blah, blah, blah. Right. And so I thought about like Hong Kong, but they speak mainly Cantonese. And I was like, I'm not going to relearn what I've already No.
Yeah.
And then thought about Macau, and I was like, that's not really a place for like teaching English to my knowledge.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, Taiwan, like that. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, I think I could do Taiwan. And I talked to other people who lived here, and it seemed like a good next step. So,
okay. Yeah. And did you go from China directly to Taiwan?
Yes.
Or did you? Okay, so you went from just one country to another.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you living in China?
10 months. And I was like,
oh, I thought you were about to say 10 years.
Oh, no way. No way.
Okay.
10 months. I couldn't even make it to a whole year.
Oh, it's not even a full year.
Well, I did a full contract.
A full contract, right.
But those 2 months, they were like, oh, you could stay. No.
No, wow. Okay.
No.
That's so funny because I have a lot of other friends as well who lived in China for maybe like, a year or two. And they also said that they didn't really have a good experience. Yeah. Okay, so Taiwan's much better than
I feel like my work life and stuff here is much more peaceful to me. Like there is some shenanigans, but that's to be expected. Right. But I feel like it's not nearly as much as what I had to deal with on a daily basis living in China. Yeah, okay. So it was like it definitely gives me a peace of mind more here. Way more, even though I made more money and had the potential to make more money in China. For me, I was like, my peace of mind is not worth money.
Right.
But a lot of people that I talk to that have lived in China for a very long time, either they are in a city where there's a lot more foreigners, so they have like that experience, or they're making a lot of money and they're like, these dollars is what I'm here for, and I'm like, so, but for me, it's not like that.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that because I know even me. Before I came here, I did my research on China, Japan, South Korea, and I know that the teaching contracts in China, they can offer you a lot of money.
Oh, yes.
But I'm thinking, is it the money that I want, or is it the quality of life that I'm kind of looking for?
Yeah, for sure. I also taught in Korea before China.
Okay.
And like I said, China did offer me like a lot of money. They were like, yeah, if you stay another year, we'll give you this amount of money. Like, that's a lot of money, but I don't like it. I was like, nah.
Right, yeah, the money's not always worth it.
Right? But I had some people that were like, you need to stay, you can pay off this. I was like, I would rather be poor.
Yeah, right, exactly. So you lived in China before, South Korea before, so is Taiwan your third Asian country?
Yeah, to live in.
To live in, okay. And how many Asian countries have you visited in total, if you know the number?
Like 6, let me see.
Okay.
It's like 6 or 7.
6 or 7,
yeah. Because
nice.
I'm trying to think, I feel like I'm missing one. I have a map that goes across my back or like to the middle of my back. So every country I go to, I fill it in.
Oh, nice.
But I think it's 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Okay. And you're a teacher here, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what age group do you teach?
I here as first and second grade.
First and second grade.
And my old school was public school, and I had some 3rd graders, but I had them since they were 1st graders. So I knew them.
You knew them. Okay. And what about now? Is this a new school?
Yes, a new school, and it's a private school, so it's a little bit is run differently. We have more resources to do things and to add things.
Right.
And so now I'm just 1st and 2nd grade.
1st and 2nd grade. Okay. And how has your experience been so far teaching over here?
You mean as a whole or the new school?
As a whole.
So my first year here was really great. It was really like my old boss was very hands off. She was like, you know, you can like just make sure the kids are having fun and like, but also still learning English, you know, like the standard. And then the second year COVID hit and everything went topsy-turvy, but it was more than that. It was more like they wanted to run it like a business, but it's like, it's a public school.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Right. And so I used to joke with people and was like, I used to work for a public private school because that's the way it was run. I was like, this is weird because this is a public institution. You can't, you know, like, or make us do these things that's literally not, like, not necessarily not in our contract, but they would find ways around things and be like, yeah, you guys should also do this. Like, we've been on government TV before, and I was like, where is that in my contract? Like, literally, the government sent people to videotape, like, we had to do, like, a kids show. Okay. And it was on national TV here. Wow. So that's what I was telling you before. I was like, I've been on TV. Every country. So it was kind of a lot. Like, it definitely stressed out every single teacher. Like, it wasn't just a me thing. Right. It was literally all of us. And it affected us physically in different ways. I had one coworker, he told us that he had to go to the hospital that night after everything, the filming and everything was done. We were like, why? He was like, I thought I was having a heart attack because of the stress. Right. And he was like, because he was an older gentleman, and when he was in the hospital, they were like, no, it's literally just like a stress response. He was having like these heart palpitations. Right. And we were like, that's not okay. Right, this is not a workhouse. Right. Right. So it was a lot. Then it kind of continued into the third year because it was, when you get with a school that is trying to do a whole bunch of new things because the world is changing, but they also simultaneously include you and don't include you. Like, they don't include you in the way things are run, but they be like, here's our decision. Even though it makes no sense, you have to do it because you work here. Yeah. And I think the third year, it got so bad for me that I was just like, this is not the school that I remember from my first year and a half, essentially, before COVID like found its way to Taiwan. Right. And then I also had a coworker that was just, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I've really never had an experience like that because I'm the type of person that even if I have a reaction to something, I double check with the people that are around me to make sure I'm not overreacting. Right. Because I'm not really an overreaction person. So I'm like, let me check to make sure it's not just me, and it wasn't just me. So I was like, see, so it is really this part. Yeah. So I was like, okay, so I need to get out of here because I can't deal with the changes and this, like, so I can't even be at peace at my own table. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Wow. Yeah, it was a lot. But then I got the job at the new school. I have two friends that work there already, and they were telling me about their experience, and I was like, how much money y'all make? Yeah.
Gotta ask. It's a hard question.
But so, with our school, we're not allowed to talk about salary, but I was just like, is it good or really good? Like, just give me a raise. Yeah. I mean, you ain't gotta tell me, but just tell me, is it more than what I'm making? And so they got me the job, and I have my own classroom and stuff now. Nice. So it's a lot more kind of freedom to operate the way I want to without like an extra set of eyes like watching me. Not that it's a problem, because we have like class observations and things. Yeah, of course. But in a daily, like how I run my class, I don't have people like, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, you have autonomy.
Yeah. So I would say 2 out of the 4 years. Yeah. I've been pretty cool. So
that's good. Yeah. And how would you say, because, you know, I feel like it's obvious that maybe, you know, being a Black woman, you know, English teacher, maybe we go through certain experiences that maybe other coworkers might not. So would you say that overall, like as a Black female teacher here, that you've had a pretty positive experience? Yes. And I think I attribute some of that to the way that I look, especially like with my piercings and like my hair, and because when I moved to Taiwan, my hair was already like this. I actually cut it when I moved to China, but I didn't really know how to deal with it or how to wear it and whatever. And then I moved here, and so I had like the colorful hair, and you know. So at my old school, I was the only person of color. So it was like I was always pushed to the forefront of everything. Yeah. And I was like. But anyway, like, it's kind of an experience I don't know if you really get used to it, but you're like, it's kind of to be expected. It kind of is what it is. Especially if you don't work with anyone else as a person of color. Like, it's just other white people and Taiwanese people. Like, if that's so
the case.
Stand out.
Yeah, so I'm like, all the posters, all the everything. website. I was in the middle, like we were filming something that I didn't even know was happening. They'd be like, okay, well, we're gonna ask Morgan. Why? Morgan has class, or Morgan is doing something. Right. No, it didn't matter.
And did it make you feel uncomfortable to kind of always have to be at the forefront of that because of the way you look, or were you just kind of like, you know what, I look different, I love it, and I'm cool with it?
Sometimes. I'm a very extroverted person, so sometimes it is fine because I also realize that a lot of places in Asia, I would say maybe save Singapore, they are used to people who look exactly like them as a total. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you walk outside, there's an Asian person, like y'all look alike. This is a homogeneous society. Right. And then I know a lot of times in my experience when they see someone who looks different, they're like, all I know is what I've heard in the media. I don't know who you actually are, or I don't care to know. Right. So for me, sometimes you find it to be your responsibility to go and like to be that forefront, because it's like I want these people in this homogeneous society to see that I'm not outside twerking. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Right. I'm not gonna come and put a gun in your face. I'm not gonna rob you. Like some people are like legitimately afraid of me. I'm like, girl, you don't even know who I am. Right. How dare you? Yes. Like, or they'll come up and try to touch you. Like, how is that okay? Right. And then you do the same thing to them. And they're like, oh, right. Like, it's like shock. What? Yeah. How do you not like it? And you did it to me. Yes. Exactly. Like, so sometimes it is our responsibility. Right. But it's also a little bit of a burden because like if you live somewhere where it's not a lot of people who look like you, people are expecting you have to be like the pedestal. Right. So you can't go outside and twerk if you want to or whatever. They're gonna be like, oh, so you weren't the black girl that I thought you were. True. Yeah. Right. And it's like, can I just enjoy my life? Yeah, exactly. So it's a back and forth kind of thing. Yeah.
It's kind of like a gift and a curse.
Yes,
right?
It is. Yeah. It's both. And especially with me being what they consider alternative, with all my piercings and everything. Right. So even when I go places, people are like I had people will be like, do you worship like the devil? I'm like, and if I did, I'm still a nice person. Dang. Right. I'm like, do you think I'm gonna sacrifice you? You're not good enough for my altar. No way. Like, I've had people like look, or I'll be on the train and people are like staring in my ear. I'm like, well, I'm glad I cleaned them today. Right. Dang, you awfully close. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
It's interesting, right? Yeah. And as a teacher, do you have students ask you like, oh, teacher, like, what's up with the piercings, or what's up with this, and how do you, or what's up with your hair? Do your students ask you questions like that?
All the time. Okay. But we have little kids everywhere are savages. They don't care about your feelings. Yeah. They be like, mommy, you fat. Like, oh, I birthed you. Yeah. Like. But for my kids, I have to remind them, don't be bullies. Right. And especially in this class, because I have my own classroom and I see them like constantly during the week. I have to remind them. I'm like, we do not allow bullying in this class, because sometimes kids know what they're doing and sometimes they don't know. And I'm like, but that's still you being a bully. That still falls in that like box. Yeah. And so I have some kids. They ask me why my hair looks like a volcano, and I was like, because or a pineapple. They think because my hair does
pineapple. Yes, volcano. That's a creep.
Because they say like it's doing like that. Yeah. And then I've had some kid. One girl. I had these two twists in the front of my hair one day, and then I had the rest of the hair up. She's like, teacher, why does your hair just like stay like that? And I was like, because that's my hair. Yeah. And she demanded, in a very sweet way, please put them in my hair. I twisted her hair and it was like, baby, it's not gonna stay. Yeah. I was like, I'll show you how to do it. Maybe your mommy can like put something in it. Right. You know. And she was just like, I want those. Like, I want those twists. She was like, I need those in my hair. Yeah. And then, but with this, because sometimes, like, you know, when we drinking water in class, we pull down our mask. Pull down your mask. Yeah. My school hasn't said anything about this, and I'm like, anyway, y'all. Right. Y'all don't even see my face. Right. So when I pull down and drink my water, my kids are like, teacher, what's this? Like, what does it look like? Because a lot of times here, I notice they will ask questions, and adults too. Mm-hmm. They will blatantly ask you questions that you're like, did you even use your brain? Right. Like, did you use your brain prior to asking me this question? Because it's obvious. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? And like, not just the nose piercing. Like, I mean, maybe they don't know what it is. Maybe, but sometimes they'll ask me, what's this? what's on top of your head? Right. Use your brain first.
Right,
like,
right. And it's kind of a teaching moment, right? You can kind of fight back and say, okay, well, what do you think it is?
Yeah.
Think before you speak or think before
I
you
have
ask
to
the
do
question.
that constantly because I'm like, you guys are going to get older, and all you hear is them talk about, I want to go to America, I want to go to Europe, and I'm like, you think they're gonna let you walk around that country? I tell myself, what's that?
Right.
You're gonna get beat up.
Right. Exactly.
Like, Taiwan is very safe for y'all, but if you go somewhere else pointing and staring and taking out your phone, somebody
might have a problem. Especially in America.
Yes. I was like, you cannot do that to people.
Right.
And I have some kids, because like I understand Chinese, and so some of my kids will say like sort of mean things, but they think I don't know. Like at first, like now they don't really.
Right.
And I was like, what'd you say? And then they get that look on their face like, did you understand me? Because we're not allowed to speak Chinese in the class.
Of course.
And so I will ask them again. I'm like, let's see how ballsy you actually are.
Right.
Are you going to say it again?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, nothing. I'm like, no, it wasn't nothing. Because I heard you.
Right.
And then I'll have another like really good kid. And they're like, teacher, he said. I'm like, thank you, baby.
Yeah.
I'm aware of what he said. I just want to see if he's going to say it again.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, I have kids that will ask me these questions, and I just be like, yeah. Or they'll do things to each other. And then I will have to pull them to the side. And I'm like, do you think that that's okay?
That's good. So yeah, it sounds like you have like command presence in your classroom.
Which
is good. Like you don't play. That's good. I know, because if you let them run wild, they'll just, if you're too soft, they'll just get out of control.
They
really
walk all over you.
They walk all over you. And do you have like a co-teacher or an assistant?
No, not in the classroom.
Not in the classroom.
No.
Okay, so it's really, and how many students do you have?
It depends on the class. I have one that's 16, one that's 19, one that's 20, and one is 24. The 24 one, whew.
Yeah, I had 24 last year in first grade without a TA, so I understand how that can be. If you let it can get really wild. Yeah, because sometimes you're also tired. It's not even just about, you're like, guys, I literally cannot deal today. Yeah. You know what I mean? On those days, I literally, because there's like in my new school, we have levels of their English levels, so they're split by levels. So those kids are like the higher levels of the first grade. Okay. So I just give them work. I'm like, literally, don't talk to me. Yeah. Take this work. Yeah. Here go this workbook, please. Yeah. You can work in groups. Enjoy yourself. Right. I'm like, just leave me alone. Yeah. And did you have and for teaching, right? Would you say that's your passion? Is that your career? Are you a teacher by trade or
no? It happened by happenstance, like most of my life. Yeah. So when I was in college, I actually worked in this program within my school to teach incoming international students English. Nice. And so I worked kind of like a TA in the class. I ran some parts of the class, and after school stuff, I had to take them out. So we went to the movies, we went to the mall, we went to buy stuff so they could practice using their English. Yeah. So that was like my part of the job. Okay. And so one of my students was South Korean, and he was like, oh, you're doing this, like teaching in a classroom and teaching us English. He's like, in my country, you can make a lot of money doing that. And I was like, a lot of money? Yeah. What kind of lot of money? Yeah. I like money because I'm poor in America. And he was like, I know a lot of people that teach English in my country, and he wasn't wrong. Right. So I was like, I'm going to go. Yeah. So that's how it started. And then I was getting ready to graduate anyway in like another year. So I was like, okay, I have this time to, and I was supposed to go right after graduation. But what happened was we had the government shut down. Right after, so I couldn't get my visa or something like that. Because the whole government was like, nah, we not working. So I had no choice. I missed the start date and everything. Okay. And I was very, very sad. And I was like, this was like my chance to, so I worked another year and a half. And then it was still like that itch. Yeah. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. I have to go. And so I started Googling again. I'm like, hey, government's not shut down anymore. I can get my passport. Yeah. Let me see. And then that's when I was like, came upon the first job that I got in South Korea. Okay. And out of all the candidates, they still chose me because they did like a full interview. It was because our boss at that branch was a foreigner, so he went through the whole process. It wasn't just like you're a white person, come work for us. It wasn't because
that does happen.
For sure.
It does happen. happen.
For them though, they did a whole like who is actually qualified, who has good references or whatever. And even though I had never done it before, they were like, it's okay, we can train you on how to.
Right.
Like,
so you had no like actual teaching experience
other than that, not for kids.
Not for kids.
Yeah,
right?
not for
other
kids.
Than the university thing.
Right.
Okay.
And
nice.
but no, I'm not a teacher by trade. My degrees are in media and marketing and that kind of thing.
Okay. Nice.
And so that's I'm pretty sure is where I'll go next. But I've been teaching like total like maybe 6 years, almost 7 years.
Okay.
And so it is something I really enjoy. I love seeing little kids like when they finally figure it out and they're like, ding, you're like, there you go, baby, go.
Yeah.
I've done my job. So that brings me joy going in there with them. Yeah. And that's why I constantly teach little kids rather than like grown ups or whatever. It's just seeing them figure it out on their own.